Good morning, everybody. We're live, and today we're going to be talking about the big moral divide, punishment. Yep, that's right. We're going to be talking about punishment today because it's part of the job and it's part of living with a dog. And so there is a big divide, and we will be talking about it. I'm going to give a second for everybody to join. I really appreciate you guys stopping by today. It's Wednesday, halfway through the week. Today we're going to be talking about punishment, the big moral divide, okay? I was out yesterday working with a client in an in-home, which is something I get to do every so often. Usually Julie does them. But I went out and everything's going according to plan, but then we get to hearing about how things are going at home. And one of the stories that caught my attention was that they were saying that the family members were giving them a hard time for using the training. And then we're like, oh, really? Like, how so? Because we want to know, to educate ourselves. And so basically the family was giving them a little bit of a hard time with the corrections. Like if they were correcting the dog for whatever, not doing a command or whatever they corrected the dog for, the family would give them a hard time, okay? And this is common. This happens. People will give you a hard time for punishing your dog. It happens. Not all people. Some people look at that and say, wow, good job, right? There's a divide, and it's a big one, and it's not just in the dog training industry, and it comes down to, it's a matter of morals. That's what it comes down to. It's not about, you get the people who hate on the e-collar. It's not about the e-collar. They hate on the prong collar. It's not about the prong collar. They hate on the bonker. It's not about the bonker. It's about punishment. It's about physical punishment, right? So here's the fence, right? It's the big moral divide is the moral issue is it wrong or is it right? That's what it is. Some people lie on the side of the fence where they believe that it's morally wrong to physically punish a dog. And then there's other people on the other side of the fence that think that it's their responsibility to do it, And then there's what I look at, which is nature. That's what I look at. I try to get out of that way of thinking. I look at nature, and in nature, it is a necessity to live harmoniously in a pack. You have to be able to correct and direct, okay? Most people give me a hard time for being too strict. So there's another one too, and you can get it with your kids. People can do it for dogs and kids for being too strict. Yeah. So, but the thing is like they don't live with that dog. They don't know. What if most of the time, if they see a dog living strict, it's because that dog is a handful. And you just want so badly to hand the leash over and say, okay, show me. please show me, right? So the big moral divide is punishment. That's what it is. And it's everywhere. And it's everywhere in our culture right now. You guys know that. I don't have to tell. This isn't new news. But it comes down to morals. It comes down to a person's beliefs. Some people, and I don't know if maybe that's how someone's raised or whatever. I don't know. It intrigues me. It really intrigues me because I'll meet people that are on my side of the fence that see it as a responsibility. Now listen, fair, of course, but having to be firm when you have to be firm and being willing to do that and finding it a responsibility to do that is the leadership mentality, I think, because there's, your dog's going to mess up. And if you don't disagree and then tell them what you'd like to see instead, you can't just tell them what you'd like to see instead because they don't care. They don't care. All right. So, that's it. That's the big divide. So when we're working with people, obviously clients, that's what we need to look for. We need to let them know right off the bat. And we are transparent about this with our content. And when we talk to people, it's like we're balanced dog trainers. So we punish and reward to shape behavior. Now, here's the funky thing. If you have the belief system that punishing is wrong, which I look at nature, and in nature, it's not wrong. It's not wrong, right? To correct, if a dog corrects another dog for getting in its personal space or trying to get up and get its food, you're not going to think that that's wrong. And so dogs are living there. They're not living in our politically correct space upstairs. They're living in that dog eats dog world. You know what I mean? So if we don't talk to them naturally like that, and it is natural, because I know when you're with your dog and it annoys you, you have some type of inkling to get physical with it, because that's what dogs do to each other. If I'm an older dog sitting here trying to relax and a younger dog's pestering me, eventually I'm going to say, get out of here, right? Natural, totally normal. Just know how to do it. Just know how to do it and your dog will be better off. You know, the dog whispering techniques are great. I mean, they're not for everybody, but especially if with puppies, I think they work great. You know, a little correction with the hand, go. That kind of stuff. So here's the thing. This is why this is a problem though, guys. Because if you have a moral issue with punishing, then that means you can't stop unwanted behaviors. Can you imagine that? You can't. Well, you can try to reinforce behaviors that you like instead of jump, sit. I'm not going to correct you for jumping, so I'm just going to reinforce sitting with food and praise and stuff and all this stuff and pray that you don't jump. But what happens when jumping's more fun? Then they jump, right? Or how about walking? Like, you really want to stop the pulling, but you can't, because you can't punish. So we're not doing that. So what we're going to do is reinforce another behavior, which is walking by me and heel. So it's like reinforce. And I'm doing that with food and praise to tell you that being in this spot is really, really good. This sounds good, right, guys? Everyone thought this sounded good 10 years ago, right? But then what happens is, as soon as the dog sees something in the environment that's more valuable than your food, it falls apart, because the dog's just doing it because it's going where the resources are. Like right now, I want this food, but now I see a squirrel and I don't want your food. I want the squirrel. The only way to really make it work is to starve the dog so that it really wants the food. But even then, with prey drive, it wants the squirrel and it falls apart. So they're struggling because they can't punish, because morally they find it wrong to punish. So now they're stuck with a dog where they can't stop unwanted behaviors, because the science says this. The science says punishment stops behaviors. It decreases behaviors. Rewarding reinforces and increases behaviors. So all we can do if we're not using punishment is try to reinforce behaviors we like in the context. So for the walk, we don't like barking, pulling, and lunging, but we can't correct that. So we're going to just try to get the dog really intrigued with some food or some type of toy and offer that for being in the right position. But the thing is, as soon as the dog sees something in the environment it wants more than the stuff you have, it falls apart, which is all the time. So that's why we're balanced. So imagine if I was just punishment based. And I didn't do that either. I didn't reward when the dog did the right thing. I just punished when it did the wrong thing, but I did not reward it when it did the right thing. Now imagine where that's going to leave you in your relationship with the dog. It has to be a balance. It's natural. Okay? So let's look at some of the comments here. I know I missed a few. Really appreciate the activity. Good morning to everybody. Most people give me we already did that one. Cool, but I think we got some more. Also, the reliance of tools. Some people think that eventually all dogs should be just fine without the tools. And I don't agree with that either. I'm with you. I don't think all dogs should be okay. Listen, those people who say that have never met the dogs that we've met. Okay? We're talking dogs that kill dogs. Dogs that kill animals, dogs that fuck people up, like mauling them. They don't know. People don't know. They're used to their little easygoing labs that just doesn't recall that well, so that's why they use the tool. And then all of a sudden they corrected it once and now it recalls forever because it's an easy dog. Listen, there's levels to this. There's dogs out there that will need that. There's a training approach. Let me tell you something. I'm going to let you guys in on some of this stuff, okay, because you guys are always here. Some dogs are very dangerous, okay? Like maybe like on the verge of like, should it be in a home? Probably not. But the thing is, the people want it still, right? There's dogs out there that will bite their own humans and that will bite all other humans and that will attack dogs like they're in a bad space. But we want to keep them in the living room. We want to keep them in the house. So what do? Okay, these dogs, these rare dogs, they need what I was calling, when I first realized that you could do this to a dog by learning from other trainers, it's what I call the gun to the head approach, okay? Bear with me. The dog has an e-collar on, okay? It has its commands, and it lives in constant command because this dog there can't be hiccups with this dog. So basically, you're like, go to the place bed. This is the e-collar, but it's like a gun to the head, so the dog goes to the place bed. And you're like, stay to the place bed. The dog stays on the place bed. Now, things can happen around this dog. It won't get off the place bed because of the training, because there's a gun to the head, right? It won't get off. Then it's like, you need to use the bathroom a couple hours later. Okay, let's go. Heel. Let's go to the door. Sit. Good. Okay, let's go outside. Good. All right, potty. All right, come. Back into the house, back onto the place bed. Stay. Okay? But you take that gun away, and that dog's going to fucking do whatever it wants, and it's going to be bad. And genetically, they're not all there. They're not like a normal dog. They flick. They have what it is about these dogs is that they have a soft side too, usually, that they show to their humans, and that's where they get just rewarded enough to keep the dog around. But when it flips, whether it's prey drive or territorial aggression or whatever is going on in this dog's head, when it goes, it's gone. It's not home anymore. Whatever the dog's name is, it's not that anymore. If the dog's name's Fido, Fido's not home. And it happens, and when it happens, it's bad. So there is a style of training out there to keep those guys alive and in a house and without incident, but it is the tools on. That's what the tools on for life for these dogs. That's what it is for some of these dogs, for the extreme dogs. It's like they need a cop with them at all times, holding them accountable for their actions out in public especially, but even around the house. They always need that tool on because as soon as it's not on, it's too risky. It's too risky. And then there's dogs that aren't that bad, that just are pushy. They're just pushy always. And the tools will make them less pushy or not pushy. But with the tools off, the dog's not an idiot. The dog's not dumb to like, the tool's not on, I'm going to be pushy, right? So the only way around all this tool stuff is literally to get the utmost respect in your relationship with your dog. But the e-collar it's like a seatbelt when you're driving. It's like, well, now that I'm a good driver, I'm not going to wear my seatbelt. It's like, no, it's also a safety net. It's like my dog doesn't really need it, but if I do need it, it's there. How about that? So people are weird, man. And I don't know why they're judging. I can't understand why they judge other people other than they think it's morally wrong. That's all I can come up with, is that they don't think it's morally right to punish a dog. And so that must be the reason, right? Because what else is left? Bethany says, then they blame the situation as in, oh, I need to make the situation easier for the dog. Yeah, and that's true too. And I understand that there's, sometimes a dog gets in over their head and you need to like, okay, take it down a notch. But punishment is part of life. It's part of my life. It's part of your life. It's part of every living thing's life. And dogs, dogs punish each other and they can still love each other. Why are we taking that off the table? I think the real thing to notice is because that's been taken off the table in recent decades is why dogs have gotten worse. Dogs aren't getting better. I don't know if you guys noticed, but trainers are starting to show up everywhere. Like there's more trainers than ever now because there's more dogs probably than ever. I'd have to look at the statistics, how many dogs are in houses. It's been a long time. There's a lot. And most everybody is not using punishment properly. No, it's just not happening. It's very rare that you see somebody who actually has the control of their dogs. And I'm talking somebody who didn't even go to a professional, who just did it. It's very rare. So everybody's struggling because, and this isn't just it, like the punishment thing, I do think that's huge. I do think that's a big moral divide, but I also think that in this country, people are busy. I think people are busy. The average day, you don't have time to spend in the way that you would need to spend with a dog to really get it where you want to get it. Too much time working. There's not much we can do about that. I almost never, ever have to use the e-collar for corrections. Yeah, but you have it there, right? You have it there. So there you go. You're doing it right. So people just don't understand. And it's true. They just don't. Cop cars always right behind them. Yep, that's it. It's like, that's right. Like when you're driving, You drive different with a cop car right behind you. You do. You drive your best. You start checking the speed limit. You start turning the radio down or whatever, especially if you're guilty of something. And then you're really trying to drive right. But that's what it is, that authority figure there to shape the behavior. And then Query says, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. That's my opportunistic dog. And we all got one of those, don't we? I think most dogs are opportunistic, but some are really, really much so. Exactly. Those people would change their tune after an incident occurs and would then be blaming the owner for not being responsible for muzzling, correcting, or controlling their dog. Yes. Okay. So you guys are running into the same, and I'm not sure what parts of the country you guys are from, but I know it's just happening everywhere after talking to so many people. Who would ever want a dog like that? Sounds like an assassin. Yeah. Well, people do. Listen, man. Listen. The things that I get to see through this career. I'm talking dogs that multi-attacks, maybe 10 or plus attacks on one person. And each attack was multiple bites, was a mauling. And it always came out of movement. It always came out of walking, just quiet room. Everybody's fine. The dog's chilling. And then the person walks across the room and they go up on them and they maul them. they maul them. And they want to... I don't know. They want to keep it in their living room. That's all I can tell you. Okay, so you can do that. You can do that with e-collar training. You can really over control a dog. You know, no dog should ever have to have that gun to their head approach, like if they don't need it, right? This is last resort. Like, and I don't even really do that type of work anymore. I do more long-term rehab where it's like, I'm going to try to change the way the dog views the world and then add that in to make sure we have it as well. Because you're going to need that much control over these dogs where you have to be able to make sure that you can keep them in constant command, which means they're not moving their body in ways that are unpredictable if you need it. So yeah, unfortunately, these dogs are going to need that level of like, because I said so. That's why, dog, because you maul people. Prey drive for my guy. Thanks for explaining that. Yeah, prey drive's no joke. Okay. Sounds like a good pet for my grandchildren. Yeah, I'll tell you what, as long as it just, and the thing about these dogs, some of them, they do it to just strangers, but some of them, the worst cases are always, they bite their owners too. And that's just the worst. You're biting other dogs, you're biting strangers, and you're biting your owner. What's going on? I live in a downtown area, self-trained. My well-trained dog is definitely rare. And yeah, it's good. Awesome. And I love it when I see it. Sometimes I get to see somebody walking their dog and it's like in a perfect heel. And I'm like, holy shit, you know? So many people see my dog and ask if they can get their dog to act like mine. I hate how to tell them no. I've dedicated 5 years. So is there more corrections up front and then they know so they take you seriously, so they're just saying no become more effective? Yes, like honestly, yes. That is how it works with a dog. Pretty much. As soon as you, like if a dog comes here for the first time and we have a couple, I call them conversations, like we have a couple hot topic conversations, like I might correct them over a resource like a female dog. Maybe they're going to try to hump my female dog or something. These are common things. Or they're going to try to go get up on the couch or eat some of this food over here. I'll set up a conversation, disagree with the dog, correct the dog, however that might look for that particular dog. The dog submits to that situation. And then we just go about our business, you know. And then another situation might come up of confrontation, which I'm setting up. I'm setting it up. Maybe it's with a dog or food or a toy, and I disagree with the dog. And you see the dog learns how to get, when I disagree, they learn how to disengage so that I don't have to correct, so I won't correct them. And so then you get respect, just like you would with a person. You guys remember the schoolyards back in the day? I don't know what the age group is on here, but when I was a kid, out in the play yard, it wasn't the safest place in the world. It wasn't the safest place in the world. And when, in order for people to respect you, if they started shit with you, you had to give it back. You had to give it back. So, and then after that, you have a little respect walking around the play yard. right? Even if you don't win that little altercation, at least you did something about it, and it changes the way the person... I used to have a kid that bullied me. This might be a little off topic, but he bullied me a lot, and he was a little more physically able to, for me. My uncle taught me, he's like, listen, I was so worried I couldn't win the fight, so I always ignored fighting him. I wouldn't fight him because I'm not going to win. I'm not going to win. You know, so I just take it. And then my uncle said, it's not about winning. Listen, just give him a bloody nose or a black eye while you're in there. It won't be fun, and he'll stop doing it. Just remember that. Like, don't make it so it's not fun for him to pick on you. And that's what I did. That's what I did. And you know what? We had a couple altercations, and I got the best of him a couple times. He got the best of me. And eventually, me and that guy became friends. Believe it or not. That's how it happens, though. That's how it happens. So, yeah. That changed, because that changed mine and that guy's relationship. Because now I wasn't taking it. I was correcting him, in a sense, for treating me that way. You know? So that's what we do with the dogs. And I'll set up a conversation that makes sense to the dog. I'm not just going to go up to him and correct him for no reason. I'm going to make sure that he's doing something that's obviously wrong. Even in his eyes, he's like, okay, yeah, that was wrong. Like humping one of the female dogs or getting into something. Or arguing over a resource. Something like that. Okay? You gain those brownie points. You gain that respect from a dog. They do listen to you better, believe it or not. But you can't do that without punishment. You can't. How do you get respect? How are you going to get respect from a dog without punishment? I don't know how you're going to do it. If you find out how, tell me, because I would love to start using it. But yeah, punishment stops behaviors. It also will get you'll get respect. Rewards are going to reinforce behaviors, okay, and increase them. I love your explaining how a disagreement isn't really a hot correction. Yeah, you can just disagree. You can just disagree. And what it's all about, by the way, your dog understands when you're disagreeing, because if you say no, that means you're disagreeing with whatever they're doing. What it's all about is in that moment when you disagree, the dog's doing something you don't like, you say no. What I'm concerned about is how the dog reacts to that. That's going to inform how I respond to the dog. So as soon as I say no, if the dog stops what they're doing and is like, sorry, and goes and relaxes, that dog's not going to get anything from me. But if I say no and the dog ignores me, it's going to get corrected. Or if I say no and the dog, gives me shit, it's going to get corrected. So it's on the dog understands. I'm communicating. It's a conversation. I said no. Now what are you going to say? Right? And then what am I going to say back? And so it's a dance with a dog. It's just a way to stop something but not fuck up the dog. Well, yeah. And here's the thing. This is what I realized over my career is if you don't stop these certain things as the dog develops, they become fucked up in the head. And this dog that I was working with yesterday, unfortunately, as much as I love the little dog, she's fucked up in the head because nobody stopped her from barking at the door and whining at the doorbell. So this went on for many years. And now the dog triggers when it hears this sound into a very uncomfortable and bad space into its own head. And that was because there was lack of punishment. Punishment isn't bad. That's what people think. They think punishment equals abuse. No. Yeah, there is such thing as abuse. But if you have good morals and a good head on your shoulder, you're not going to abuse a dog. You can punish a dog without abusing it. You understand? You know what I'm saying? You're not going to go over there and just beat it to death, right? Hopefully not. You have to learn how to punish. And once you learn how to punish, you get good at it. You have to do it minimally, but when you have to do it, you have to do it. You can mess a dog up, guys. And it's a common thing we see. By not disagreeing with certain neurotic behaviors or unwanted behaviors, a dog continues to do them. They don't know why they do it anymore. They just do it. And they get messed up, and they have triggers all throughout their day that send them into these places. And whether it's overexcitement in a really bad way or nervous or whatever, we never worked them through it and taught them what was wrong and what was right. That's part of the raising process. We just kind of throw food down, offer them a part of our couch, and hope for the best. It doesn't go good. It's not a cat. So, yeah. Punishment's necessary, but you need to know how to do it. Yeah, So Bethany says, so to clarify, respect comes from these conversations where you disagree. Yeah, I believe so. On the flip side, how are you specifically developing trust? In addition, trust is coming through the nurturing side. So through through seeing that I'm not a threat by allowing me to touch you physically and feeling that I'm feeling my energy and that I'm soft, but also I'm feeding you, I'm giving you water, I'm giving you shelter, and I'm giving you guidance. This is trust. When I say something, and I'm also protecting you. So you're going to notice, dog, that when you're in the social yard, when other dogs go to mess with you, I won't let them. And the dogs notice that with me. They notice that. They know I'm there to protect them too. So all that is trust. All that is trust. But respect is because I said so. And how that happens is I say so, and then in that moment you don't listen or you disagree, and then I follow through. And I'm creating respect for myself. When I speak, when I say something to you, I mean it. I'm not just the type of human to let it go. If I say something, I'm going to keep going after it. But I choose my battles with my dogs. You know, I'm not overly, let's say, I guess I'm not overly strict with rules with my particular pack of dogs. The rules is if I say stop, stop, and if I say do. That's it. I'm not micromanaging them. But if they make a bad choice, I'll correct them and then direct them. Like, don't do that, get out of the kitchen and go lay down. That's just how you teach them. And you know what ends up happening? The dog ends up knowing how to get through that situation next time they're laying down before you have to ask them. We don't do that. We let the dog do all these bad behaviors, from barking at the mailman to pulling us on the street to barking out the window to tearing up the couch to all the shit. We let it all go for years, and then we think our adult dog's just going to be normal. No, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be unstable. It's going to be unstable, and it's sad. And if parents aren't, I don't know how you learn to punish. This is another thing I'd like to ask you guys, actually, because there's enough of you. How'd you learn how to punish an animal, a dog or something? Did you see it as a kid from your parents, and then you kind of knew how? Or is it something that you didn't know how to do, and you had to look up? Or did it come naturally to you? How do you learn? Yes, you can go on YouTube, but if it's your dog for the first time, did you learn while you were a kid how to handle a dog? Did you see your parents handle a dog a certain way? Or are you learning from like YouTube and stuff? I'm curious. I really am curious. Jean says, so she does something we do not like. I say off and she listens. I should not reward, correct? The reward is, so right there in that moment, in my eyes, the reward is the lack of a physical correction. So like, if she's jumping, you say, she does something you don't like, you say off. So if you say off and she stops, then her reward was avoiding the correction that's going to come if you don't stop. But then you can also, what I do is you could just say good, which is a marker that you approve, which is reward enough. You can even give a little pat on the head. It's appropriate. Like, here's another thing. It's like, this is another thing about the rewarding thing. People get crazy with it. Like their dog's a year into training, you're asking them to sit, they sit, you're still giving them a piece of food. It's like, your dog doesn't need to get paid to sit. Your dog's already, that should be part of the salary, right? It's already staying in your house. You're already buying its food. You're already buying its toys. You're already buying, the trade should be this. I take care of all that as your leader. Literally, I pay the mortgage, literally everything on the outside world. What I need from you is to do these 5 commands when I ask you to do them. So if I just say down, just down. If I say come, come. So just do them when I ask you. And stop doing things when I tell you to not do them. Deal? Deal. Okay, that's the deal. That's the sign between the human and the dog. You can live in my house. I will buy all the food. I will take care of you. I will be the best I can to you. But you do the commands when I tell you to. And you stop doing things when I tell you to. Deal. And you can live great with a dog like that, but you can't do it without punishment. Because punishment shows them. Here's the reason. The same reason why we don't speed around cops. Why don't you speed when there's a cop right behind you? Why? Why? Is it because there's a reward if you don't? No. It's because you are aware of the consequences. That's life. That's nature. And if we rob our dogs from that, they become loony bin material. They do. And then you need to, then there's work. And it happens quick. Like, you can't let it go for a year. Don't let it go for 6 months. It already starts to get patterned, these behaviors, these things that these unhealthy states that your dog practices. Okay? So the big moral divide, guys, it's punishment. And it's that thing when you're talking to somebody, that's that thing. If they're against e-collars, that's why. If they're against prongs, that's why. Again, if those things went away and you just corrected your dog with your hand, they wouldn't like that either. It's punishment they don't like. Okay? And I don't know why. And I want to know why. I really, really badly want to know why. Why is this so... Why are people so against it? If it works and it helps and you can do it right. I don't understand. And I don't know exactly where it came from, but it's not how the adults were when I was a kid, I'll tell you that. But I grew up in the country, but they didn't care. They'd punish you physically if they felt the need to. My dog does a big bark and then looks at me and goes, "Can I do it again?" Learning from you. Let me see. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Do they actually think like what, Gene? Let me get that again. There's a lot of questions here, so I'm about to go through them. I was a cat lady that spent 5 years reading books by Sean O'Shea, Larry Kay, trial and error, did 2 years of positive reinforcement only, and was so frustrated, so then added more hands-on practice. That sounds like a nice, well-balanced learning process there. You went full circle. So now you know. See, positive reinforcement training is amazing, and it does incredible things. Should not be understated that it is absolutely incredible what you can do with it. Positive reinforcement, that is. But I don't understand. I don't think that means that because it's so good at creating and teaching new behaviors that maybe we should just never use punishment. I don't know where that came from. Yes, I do. Morals. But why? That's what I can't figure out is why. Why did somebody decide that it was wrong to physically correct a dog? Why? I don't know. I haven't figured that one out yet. I was super fortunate to grow up training my dogs with neighbors who was a balanced dog trainer. Wow. So at 12 years old, he taught me how to properly apply a punisher. So grateful to that man and his help. That's amazing. At 12 years old, that's amazing. And just knowing how to punish a dog, because everything else really is pretty easy. You feed them and you know how to play fetch with them, and it can come pretty natural, especially if you love dogs. But learning how to punish them, I think seeing it, I think that's what it is seeing somebody do it properly. My earliest experience of seeing somebody correct a dog was my dad correcting our puppy for being on a counter with a rolled up newspaper or a magazine. That's one of my earliest memories, is seeing him take the newspaper and swat the dog with it. I remember seeing that, and I don't remember how young I was. Young. I have 3 kids, so I know consequences for poor behavior creates well-balanced kids. So I'm surprised I didn't just naturally think the same applied for animals. Yeah, and I don't know if that's your fault. Honestly, I think it's a lot of the way we're being programmed to think about dogs kind of as a whole through as a society, really. I think we think of dogs a certain way. We forget they're predators, and we forget this stuff. Bethany says, learning out of necessity after rescuing an escape artist, jumper and puller on the leash. Yeah, seriously, that's how you'll learn real quick. Was that all Kylo doing all that? Escaping out of kennels too? I've also read like 6 books. Being balanced in 2 years of e-collar practice gives me a dog that everyone is jealous of. Yeah, I bet you your dog is top notch, for real. That's a lot of work. But I know the product of that level of work is what you want. I mean, what I find funny is the people who are against punishment have the most reactive dogs and can't seem to get anywhere. Or see small changes after years of positive reinforcement. It's because they're using the wrong piece of the puzzle. You're supposed to correct the barking and the reacting first, and then reward the passive behavior. So what they're really rewarding is a bad state of mind too. If you think about that, guys, the dog's frustrated and they keep rewarding a frustrated state of mind because they're not. I don't think many of them are thinking state of mind training either. It was the clicker lady. She wrote a book teaching clickers, and throughout it was saying never ever make a dog scared of being bad. Is her name Karen Pryor? I do believe that's Karen Pryor. Although I think, what was that out of Don't Shoot the Dog? That was one of the first books I read too. Well, in the first year I read that one too. I read Karen Pryor. I think it's good to educate yourself on everybody. Positive reinforcement trainers only. I still read their books if I did, and I will if I feel like I can learn something from it, because it's just science. It's just that part of it. It's good stuff. But if you read the stuff, you just watch out where there's a moral bias, and if anyone tries to make you feel like punishment is morally wrong, then you just know where they stand. It doesn't mean you don't have to read their material. You can still read it, but you can see through it and still learn from it. But the thing is, dogs don't think punishment is wrong. And dogs are what we are talking about. So what's going on here? It's like we're putting human biases on nature. It's not natural to not punish. It's not. So it's La La Land. It's La La Land. It's fake place. It's not reality. My pup is currently at your facility. Really? Which dog is it? I trained her to not pull with collar from watching you on iTunes. However, I didn't even know we were on iTunes. However, although she does a good job, I don't know how often I should correct her. Okay. We'll get back to that. Oh, Kit. Bethany's dog, Kit, jumps fences. That sucks. Same. I've learned so much from it, but it's limited and has a moral bias, 100%. Yeah, so you're talking about the positive reinforcement stuff. Yeah, it has a moral bias, but I don't know what... See, I understand the moral bias is against physical punishment, guys, but what I can't figure out is why. That part is... I want to know before my career is over. Why is it morally wrong, especially if dogs don't operate that way? That's what makes it so they can only have success with certain types of cases. Okay? I read The Art of Raising a Puppy. Cool, the Monks of Newsky, right? Yeah. And the other monk books about leadership. That's awesome. That's awesome. They're good. They're very... I used to live up by those guys. I learned everything from Almost Having Canine. Awesome. She knows what she's doing. I'd follow Almost Having Canine if you guys aren't already. They rely on bad science. Yeah. Or like... it seems like these people aren't dumb, though. Like the top ones... I feel like instead of it being bad science, it's almost like it's biased science. It's like they're picking and choosing what they want to fit the narrative. And I understand their narrative. I understand the whole thing, but I can't figure out why. Is it a marketing thing or something? Like, is it money? I don't know. I really can't figure it out. I studied the methodological, I can't read, errors in their scientific studies. Oh, yeah. Well, I've done the same, and I do my research still. And I like to learn how things actually operate. And if you go by nature, and true science is just the study of nature and finding the facts within nature, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. But when you start going to La La Land, you're going to struggle with your dog. All right, guys. We're going to hang this one up. The big moral divide, punishment. I know we all, I know everybody knows that person, right? Because I feel like it's literally like 50. I don't know. Maybe there's even more people. I feel like this is the minority. People who punish their dogs and are when needed, I mean, that's not all we're doing is punishing our dogs. We have great lives with our dogs too, and our dogs love us. And we go on hikes and we do all sorts of great stuff, and they're well behaved. But the thing is we do what we need to do. It's natural, and we learn how to do it, and we get the results of it. Okay, so. Guys, thanks for the interaction. I needed that today. I like going back and forth with you guys. Very fun. Got to meet some new people. I'm not the best at reading and all that stuff, so bear with me. I know you guys already know, but you get what I'm saying, right? You're great. Thank you so much. I'm on it. I want to find out why. I do too, and let me know. I really don't. I haven't put that much energy into figuring out where or why. I'm sure it started from a good place. Let me tell you that. I really do believe that it probably started from a really good place, because I believe that it's an overcorrection from the old aversive training. So old aversive training was way over the top, okay? And the people, very smart people, I believe, this is just a stab at it, guys. I believe very smart people realized that you could use science and you could shape a behavior and you could be clearer with a dog and you didn't have to punish that hard. And then I think that it went to the opposite end where it's like, well, let's not punish at all. And then now we're starting to see the kickback of that. Like, that's not good either. Just punishing is not good. But then getting rid of punishing altogether is also not good. And I see dogs get messed up from it. All right? So I think if we can meet in the middle and really look at the science and like understand how awesome positive reinforcement is and what it can do for animals, but then also look at the necessity of decreasing certain behaviors just for a sanity standpoint for the dog and the humans. Like, we need to stop certain things and take them off the table. So, okay, guys, the big moral divide, punishment. It's out there. We try to educate people every day, and I think that more and more people are starting to learn, hey, it's just balance. It's just balance, okay? If you're a good person and you got a good heart, you're going to be able to punish. You're not going to, it's going to be fine, okay? Mylan says, thanks for doing these. Always so informative and helpful. You guys are welcome. As always, please leave some comments after this is done with ideas of what to do in the future as far as topics, and I'll see what I can do. Really appreciate you guys. It's the middle of the week. Let's go strong. I'll see you tomorrow.